Now, let's take you back to one of our top stories that we are tracking for you this afternoon. Convicted killer Donovan Moodley is appearing before the parole board at the Johannesburg Correctional Centre currently. And I'm now joined by Marinda, and she's going to give us, more information about what is currently happening there. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Now, just talk to us about currently what is happening, at that parole board. I know that a lot of focus has been centered around just the victim component of today's appearance.
No, well, absolutely. But we must just go back a little bit and remember why we are actually here at the second hearing so soon after the one in January. And that was because Mr. Moodley asked the High Court to appeal the last hearing and to have a new hearing because it wasn't properly recorded. And so here we are again, just over a year, re-traumatizing both the Mathews parents, Leigh Matthews' parents, who've had to go through the whole process again. And we know that from the previous one, he did not disclose everything. He did not give them the answers that they have been looking for. The answer of where their daughter was kept in those 10 days before she was found. He also keeps changing his story. We know in his latest appeal that he has changed his story, and that, what we're really looking at here is we're looking at a very un-victim-centric approach by the parole process. And in fact, part of the reason we are here today is actually to highlight this, because so many parents and so many siblings who've lost a child, lost a brother or sister, need to understand how they need to get involved in the process. But the fact that they also have rights and they need to exercise those rights. And we are hoping that the parole board chairman and the parole board will see that Donovan Moodley is in no way remorseful. If someone keeps on telling a different story simply to get them out of prison, that does not give, first of all, that is no remorse. It gives no one closure, and we are still in the dark as actually what happened to Leigh in the days following when she was shot.
And I mean, of course, this now raises, questions, Marinda, about, to what extent parole boards actually take the family's consideration or feelings into consideration. I mean, we know, of course, Oscar Pistorius is also going through the same process as well. I mean, what does that then do, to family members that have to go through this? Again, particularly to your point where you say there are still questions around, some of the deaths of the victims.
No, absolutely. And the fact is that, the families again they have to face their child's murderer, the person that took their child away from them. And also, I must tell you, they're not allowed to cross-examine. So they can't ask him certain questions, which is, I think, highly unfair. And I think, if this is just simply for him to try and tick the boxes so that he can get out a bit sooner, it costs the family, parents and her sibling a huge amount every time. This is just living from trauma to trauma and hoping they'll be kept in. And this whole devastating and heartbreaking thing regarding these parole hearings and Donovan Moodley is the fact that if he had been arrested 2 months later in 2005, he would have had a life sentence that meant life. So life is within life for 25 years. The fact is he wasn't. So that is the reason that he actually has the option of parole, is at the time that he was actually arrested, the law did give you, did give a murderer an option of parole depending on many criteria, exemplary behavior, etc., etc. But all I'm saying is that this is how tragic this is, that we wouldn't even be here if he had been arrested 2 months later, because the law then changed that if you were sentenced to life, it was life. Only after 25 years could you get parole. And now we're looking, at somebody who has, we are looking at complete psychopathic behavior in the sense of that you change your story. You don't say if there was somebody who's collaborating with you. You don't give the truth. You give the parents no closure, and you sort of go from confessing to denying, and all this. My heart is breaking. I think it's about 3:30 now, and we've been here since 9 o'clock, and they're all still in there. Now, can you imagine sitting in hours facing the murder of your daughter in the hope that something will come out of this? Either you'll get the whole story and at last you will know what has happened, or that you can ask questions, and in the hope that, of course, parole is denied. So we're standing here. It's getting a bit cloudy now, I don't know, but we hope that they will be out in the next hour, and we hope that this parole will be denied.
Miranda, my colleague interviewed Leigh's father, Rob Mathews, earlier, and he described exactly as you are describing how emotionally draining this is, that his daughter's murderer keeps trying to, come out of jail. As Women and Men Against Child Abuse, your representation there, obviously behind the family, what kind of support then do you have to provide in instances like this, particularly because we don't know how things are going to go?
Yeah, I think the thing is that one of our main supports for the family has also been to highlight the problems within the parole process, and obviously to be there for them, to try and get traction so that other people who are also fighting for fighting for their children or their loved ones who were murdered, know that actually, although it's a very hard and very traumatizing process, you need to be involved and you need to be able to follow this process, because we have seen too many convicted murderers and rapists let out on parole, and we are questioning, first of all, sort of the competency of parole boards. Who is the chairperson of the parole boards? On what do they base the fact that they've released past prisoners on parole? So I think this case and the support for Leigh and her parents in getting justice has hopefully helped other people who are seeking to keep the murderers or rapists of their families in jail.
Miranda, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really do appreciate it. Miranda Jordan, Women and Men Against Child Abuse, there, of course, outside the parole hearing.